Today I fucked up by convincing my boyfriend to do CNC with me, and 5 days later he is still convinced that he's a monster. CNC is a sexual kink, consensual non-consent. I 27F am dating my boyfriend 26 meters for almost 2 years. We both are experienced people, so we had no problem establishing sexual boundaries and using safe words where it could satisfy both our needs in the multitude of sexual activities that we do: anal, oral, impact play, CBT, felching, squirting. You get the idea. We love to keep things interesting and try out new things every once in a while. A couple of weeks ago, I'd suggested that we take things to a new level and do CNC involving a little bit of edge play, where he's the dominant and I'm the submissive. He was uncomfortable with it because he didn't like the idea of forced sex. Booty told him that it's not actually real if both parties are consensual. It's simply acting out a CNC fantasy with a consenting partner. He eventually agreed to do it a couple days ago because he loves to please me, and so we discussed everything from safe words to what defines us crossing the line. And no, I didn't pressure or force him into it. I only asked once. So we picked the time at around 12:15 a.m. as it is basically the scariest time of the night. I went downstairs to the kitchen, and as I was pouring a glass of water, my boyfriend grabbed me from behind. I threw the water at his face, to which he responded with slapping me across the face, grabbing me again, and holding a knife to my throat. He said, "Do that again and your kitchen floor will be drowning in blood," after which he threw me down on the floor, tied my hands and feet, during which I struggled the entire time as his Myral kicked me in my arm, and then fucked merrily hard. At one point he was holding the knife again to my throat and he accidentally pricked my skin with the blade, but it was fine. Yes, we use an actual knife. My boyfriend has had experience with edge play before, which involves using sharp objects such as knives, so I trusted him to use aerial knife instead of a dummy or extremely dull one. I also enjoy pain mixed with pleasure because the pain creates intense arousal for me. Some of you guys may think it's weird, but some people are into it like myself and some aren't, and that's okay. Next hour or so we cuddled and I comforted him, but after that he wanted to be alone to collect his thoughts. When I saw him the next morning, he said that he couldn't believe he actually did what he did last night and that he feels extremely disgusted with himself. Both my right cheek and left arm have bruises from when he slapped and kicked me, and I could see the pain and guilt in his face when he saw me, but I told him that I loved it and he shouldn't beat himself up over it because we were both consenting adults doing a little fantasy act. But I wasn't able to convince him that it was just roleplay and he isn't monster. It's been 5 days since then. No words of affirmation, comfort, soft physical touch could help him. We've tried having sex yesterday, but when I winced as he touched my bruised arm, he said he couldn't continue because the memory of him turning into a person capable of causing harm to me, fantasy or not, was too fresh and painful to him. So yeah, I fucked up real bad. All because of what? Some CNC fantasy that I've been trying to fulfill for years, but none of my previous partners wanted to do it? Now I've probably lost an amazing partner and lover because he still can't recover mentally and it possibly broke him. I'm a fucking idiot. TLDR, I suggested to my boyfriend to act out a CNC fantasy with me, and now no matter how much I comfort and reassure him, he's still pained with guilt. TIFU by accidentally giving a date DMT. I brought a Tinder date home last night. It was the first time we met. Everything was pretty normal and we went back to my place and had a good time. We both had to work and weren't really expecting to share the night. Bottom line being that she wasn't prepared to stay over. She asked me if I had any weed she could smoke before she heads out. I, from the bathroom around the corner, say, "Yeah, there's a pen in the drawer beside the bed." There are 2 pens in that drawer. I rarely ever use the DMT pen, so I momentarily forgot. Both look like weed pens except one is a fucking 5-meo DMT pen, and when the light bulb went off I shouted, "Wait, make sure it's the black pen." I'm shouting this while turning the corner. By the time I get in the room she had the pen blinking, maxed out, and let out a very loose, "What the?" For context, I take half of that to break through. She started pushing herself up against the wall like a scared baby deer. I was like, oh fuck me, thesis not good, but it's kind of quick, so I'm thinking okay, 10 meters and some big feelings, she'll be fine. For the next couple minutes she lies limp on the bed like a rag doll with intense, wide open eyes. For the next couple minutes she, while naked FTR, starts screaming, "I am the portal." The following couple minutes she was coming down and seemed confused, and then she broke into a huge crying fit. I'm thinking okay, the trip's over, now comfort, explain, damage control. I tell her she's okay now, everything is okay. You used a DMT pen, not my weed pen. She cut me off with, "I am God." This spooked the fuck out of me NGL, and booked it downstairs. I didn't know what to do, so I just started shouting, "Stop, please wait," while she ran outside, still naked. I have lots of neighbors, nosy ones, and I'm chasing a naked woman asking her to stop. Not a good look. Eventually she gets winded and lays on the grass, stares up and chants nonsense. I'm on the phone with paramedics at this point, and no surprise the cops are pulling up. I was worried AF, and told the exact truth. I live in Canada where these substances don't mean big legal trouble. The girl had a psychotic episode that was DMT-induced, obviously. Apparently she came to her senses hours later but is still suffering some mental confusion. My neighbors probably think I'm a rapist now. TLDR, let a girl hit a DMT pen instead of a weed pen and she ran around outside naked. TIFU by crawling into bed naked next to my unsuspecting roommate. So this happened almost a year ago, and every time I think about it I cringe into oblivion. ID's definitely one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me. So last year I studied abroad and I decided to get an apartment with another girl from my home university who was going. I had only met her twice briefly before we moved, but we got along pretty well and decided to pull the trigger on a 6-month lease. We found a really nice apartment, talked about ideas for decorating it, etc. I arrived a few days before her and spent some time checking out both the bedrooms to decide which one I wanted. Then she arrived and moved her stuff into the other one. We spent a day checking out the city, and everything was going really well. But the day after she had moved in, we were checking out the city but she had been kind of quiet and put off the whole day. I remember being on the tram with her and looking at her for a few seconds and then a vague memory came back to me, and I asked her, was I in your room last night? And she said, all awkwardly, yeah. I was gonna ask you about that, and all of a sudden it hit me. I remembered waking up the night before and going to the bathroom. I had been sleeping naked because there was no AC and it was August. I was so exhausted and jet-lagged, or else I must have been sleepwalking because I genuinely only have extremely vague snippets of this memory, and I literally fucking sleepwalked into her room and crawled into her bed buck naked and just lied next to her until she asked something like, are you okay? Andy remembers snapping awake, saying, yeah, and thinking, this is weird. Why am I not in my room right now? Then I got up and stumbled back into my room, fell right back asleep and forgot about it until the next day when I spoke to her. I have only sleepwalked a handful of other times in my life and it's usually when I'm very stressed. I guess the stress of the move and the new environment must have triggered it. Maybe I forgot which room was mine. All I know is that I was absolutely mortified, apologized profusely, explained that it was absolutely not on purpose, that she seemed to take it well, but yeah, I'm pretty sure she thought I was coming onto her in the creepiest way possible that night. I felt so bad and still do. Oops. TLDR, I accidentally sleepwalked into my roommate's room naked and climbed into bed and totally freaked her out. Today I fucked up by saying hi to my neighbor's friend NSWF. So, I moved to a small town where everyone knows everyone, and hang out at the local bar. My next door neighbor is warm and welcoming, which makes this even worse. I got home from work late one day and as I reached the top of the stairs a naked guy was standing in her doorway. He was apparently waiting for her to come home and thought that I was her. When he saw his mistake he slammed the door. Later I met my neighbor at the local bar, hanging out with a big group of friends. I saw the naked guy among them, so I decided to say hi. I wanted to go about the awkward meet and said, hi, nice to see you again, with more clothes on, no worries about the situation. The group got real quiet, and another guy stared at me. I walked out of the situation knowing that I'd said something wrong. Now I know. My neighbor's boyfriend was the guy staring, the naked man was her lover. I will never ever goof again with people I don't know. TLDR, the naked guy in my neighbor's apartment was her lover and not her boyfriend. Edit. It's a building with 2 floors. We live upstairs and share hall with 4 apartments. There are 2 staircases. Me and this neighbor use the same stairs, the 2 others use the other stairs. TIFU by losing $146,000 in poker. Mandatory not today. I've been living alone in a new city for a little more than a year. I literally don't know anyone here except for my work folks who I don't interact with except for at work. With not much to do during my downtime I got into online poker. I have a decent job where I make around $100K a year and, where I stay, this puts me in the top 10% of earners, but over the last 7 months I've managed to lose $146K playing poker. I primarily played PLO6. I started with buy-ins of 100, but soon moved to 500 and then 5,000. I was losing often but only after I would run up insane scores. Similar every other day I would load up for 5K, run it up to 30K, proceed to lose it all, and then buy back 6 more times. I kept it mostly in balance with a couple of big CA shouts, getting up from the table with, say a 70K profit, only because everyone else left. But I was a consistent loser, losing on an average 20K 30K per month. My entire salary would go into this, other than rent and food. The last week or so of every month I would be counting my dollars to make sure I had enough to make it through. And then it happened. I lost balance completely. Had a month where I lost 50K plus. Blew through my savings, took an advance from work, then blew through that too. As of today, I'm down 146k, with 12k in debt and about $200 to my name to last out the month. I don't have enough for rent this month and don't really know how I'm going to figure it out. I am respected at work and seen as someone who is highly logical, analytical, practical and intelligent. What they don't know is that I'm also a degenerate gambler. I'm sure I'll get through this. I have to. And I hate to rebuild. But I just needed to put this down and share it with someone, even if it is just words in an empty sub. Take care guys. Loneliness is a hell of a thing. TLDR, lonely well-to-do guy spends everything on poker. End up being lonely and in debt.